Hi, this is Steve Stine, and what we're going to be talking about today are some really cool ways that you can start off some of your blues solos. One of the things that people say a lot, and it's really important, is that, an effective intro into a blues solo can really get you inspired to do the right thing. And oftentimes we'll just kind of start off by playing a note, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's perfectly fine. But what I thought might be cool is to give you some different ideas of some introductions that you can do to kind of kickstart your solo and get creative. So let's check these out. Okay, so this first one we're going to be doing is just a tag to lead into an A minor kind of progression. I was giving you kind of a swing there, right? Now, again, any of these can be changed from a straight feel to a swing feel or whatever it is that you're looking for, just depending on how you approach the rhythm for each one. Okay, and I'll show you that in just a second. So this first one we're doing is we're going to bend the 7th fret of the 3rd string. We're going to bend that up a whole step, and then we're going to go to the 5 and the 5 of the 2nd and 1st strings, which is a really traditional blues thing anyway. And then what we're going to do is we're going to tag that by sliding up to the 10th fret of the 2nd string. Okay, so we're coming off here. Now, you can add a vibrato onto that 10. It just depends on how long you're going to be there, okay? Because what I'm doing is at the end, I'm tagging it finally with an 8. I'm doing a little blues bend. Just a little twist, like that. So I'm playing the 8, and then when I'm ready to leave, I give it a little bend upward, and I'm done. So it looks like this. Now, you wouldn't have to play the last note. You could just go, and it would sound pretty darn cool, but I'm just ending it with that. And what that does is it gives me an opportunity to stop what I'm doing and then go somewhere else and do something else. Whatever I'd like to do. So ending with that little blues bend on the 8 creates a pause, which is always really nice anytime you're soloing. When you create space, it gives the listener time to rest from what you just did and prepare for the next thing that's happening. So as I play this, I'm done. And then I can go into whatever I want from there, okay? Now, I'm giving it a swing feel, bum, 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 ba, da, 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 like that. But I wouldn't have to if I wanted to play it 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... I just have to think about how I want to play it differently. Okay, so if I had a straight rhythm, that I'm just going to change up that rhythm a little bit, and I want you to understand how important that is because you're going to apply that to everything that you learn. You might learn a really great lick, and then, you learned it in a straight sort of feel, and then all of a sudden you need it for a swing, and then it doesn't really work. 99% of the time, you can take whatever it was that you did and just tweak it a little bit to become something else in the groove that you need, okay? So this is a great one to start off a blues rhythm with. So you got your band playing, and then you come in with your... and you play your thing, all right? So that's a great one to start with. Okay, so now this one would be like a pre-band lick that you could do. So the band isn't playing yet, and you're just starting off, right? So they say, hit it, and you go, and you play. When you hit that note right there, that's 7, which is the A, which is the root, okay? When you hit that note, that's when the band starts. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm just playing the 8th fret of the 2nd string and the 9th fret of the 3rd string, and I'm using my 3rd and my middle finger. You might use these two. I like to use these two for what's coming next. So what I'm going to do is I'm just sliding up a half step from the 7 and the 8 up to the 8 and 9. And then I'm just going to strum it a couple more times. And I'm going to do that 3 times. Now, if for some reason you'd like your slide to be a little longer, it's okay if you make it a little longer. It doesn't have to start in 7 and 8. It's just that you need to be in the right place quickly, right? So you don't want to take too long. You don't want that. You want to be there right away. Like that, okay? So I'm doing that 3 times. And then what I'm going to do is go to the 7th fret of the 2nd and 3rd strings, and I'm just using my 3rd finger to do that. So I'm going... And then I'm going to go down to the 2 5s, the 2nd and 3rd strings with my 1st finger, and I'm going to do a hammer-on to the 6th fret of the 3rd string. Go to the 7th fret of the 4th string. So I have... Just like that. So very effective again, and it works really great as kind of a pre-riff before the band actually comes in. So definitely worth checking out. Okay, so here is a very Stevie Ray Vaughan inspired kind of intro lick that you can do. And you can just stay in one spot and do this. You don't have to move all over the place. Although I'm going to show you a couple of different ways to do this. So basically, again, we're going to be in the A minor pentatonic. We're going to be starting off on the 7th fret of the 5th string. We're going to slide into that. And then what we're going to do is play 4, 7 on the 4th string. So that 4th fret is a little bit different, and that's what really gives this the spice to make it sound very unique, is instead of playing 5 like you normally would when you're in minor pentatonic, you're playing 4, 7, okay? Now again, the fingering doesn't make any difference. If you'd rather use the pinky to do this or do it like that or whatever works for you, it's perfectly fine, okay? Again, either one would work fine. And it's not too fast that, you know, there's a certain fingering that would work better than another. I don't think that really makes any difference. Sorry. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to end this by going to the 5th fret of the 2nd and 3rd strings like I did earlier. Okay, so I have... And then I'm going to do that same hammer onto the 6th fret. And what I want you to recognize is how a lot of these various techniques are used over and over and over in blues. They're very, very important. So if you're looking for those blues isms that really make the blues stand out, aside from just playing a scale like the pentatonic scale or something, really notice the repetition that's used with a lot of these ideas. It's the things around it that make it sound different, but the actual ideas are always there. So we've got... And then what I'm going to do is play the 2 7s, then back to the 5s, hammer to 6. So I have... And then I'm going to end it on the 7th fret of the 4th string, which is my A, which is my root. So I have... That's it. That's all it is, okay? So it's a great way. The band starts off, you're going to go... They come in right there. So you got... That sounds really neat. Now, the Stevie Ray Vaughan style, what he does is he moves up to the D over the 4 chord, right? So we got A, and then we're moving to D. That's our 4 chord. He moves up and does it over D, which we could certainly do. We've got our 5 chord. We could do it over our 5 chord. 4. So now all of a sudden it's not an intro necessarily. We could be doing it anywhere we want within the context of our solo. But it sounds really neat. And again, it's just using some traditional elements, but that 4 is kind of new. Now that 4 is actually coming from major pentatonic, so it's kind of twisting both major and minor pentatonic together. If you've never done that before, I have lots of different lessons on that sort of thing, and it's really important to bring out the, you know, the authentics of what makes blues sound like blues is combining major and minor together. We don't do it all the time, but it certainly is effective, so we can hear it in this kind of lick. right, moving on to intro lick number 4. What we're doing here is starting off by playing this. Okay, and what I'm going to do here is I'm sliding up to the 10th fret of the second string with my third finger. Then I'm going to go to the 8th fret and the 10th fret of the first string like this. Then I'm going to bend that 10 up a whole step. Then I'm going to go to the 9th fret and bend that up a half step. Okay, so I'm coming like this. And I'm going to bend that 9 only a half step. It's going to sound like the 10. And then I'm going to play the 8 and then back to the 10. So it looks like this. Okay, so this one, again, like the Stevie Ray Vaughan one, can start off going dun, 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 then your band would come in. So you'd have, and then right there, they would come in. Okay, so again, what makes this one really cool is that little 9 in the middle, that little half step bend, which is a little bit awkward. It sounds really, really cool, so it's worth checking that one out as well. All right, number 5, lick number 5 is kind of a twist on what we did in lick number 4. We're going to start off by just doing the 8th fret twice, and we're going to bullet right into that 10th fret bend. Okay, right in there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to drop down with that bend, and we're going to go to the 8th fret of the first string. And then right away go into the 10th fret of the second string. And then what we can do is we can tag it at the end with this little 8 blues bend again. So we have... Okay, so it's a really cool sounding little intro. Okay, so you can play it as slow as you want. And the great thing about that little blues bend at the end is that you don't have to go to it right away. You can always hang out for a while. And then when you're ready, and again, you can take that 8, take as long as you want before you give it that little blues bend. If you want to stay there a little while longer. So it sounds pretty cool that way. All right, moving on to lick number 6. This one's pretty cool. We're using a lot of major combined with minor here. And we're moving up into the 3rd position. So we had the 1st position, we moved up and did some stuff in the 2nd position. Now we're hiking up and moving into the 3rd position here. And again, we've got these blues bends and all these sorts of things that we enjoy, and they sound really good for blues. So I'm sliding into the 11th fret of the 3rd string with my middle finger. Then I'm going to go to the 10th fret of the 2nd string with my first finger. And I'm just playing it twice, and I'm playing it pretty staccato. Now again, the slide, the duration of the slide doesn't really matter. It can be a smaller slide or a longer slide. You don't want it, you don't really need that long of a slide. It's just the distance doesn't really make any difference where you're starting from. I do what I refer to, if you've seen it in my other lessons on this, I refer to it as an airplane slide, where I'm just sliding in from nowhere. So you're hearing the slide, but you're not hearing a starting point, right? So, and then what we're going to do is go to the 11th fret of the 2nd string. We're going to bend that up a whole step. Then what we're going to do is go to the 12th fret, and again, use just a half step bend. And then we're going to go back down to the 10. And the trick here is trying to make those bends sing. You'll notice that the first one is quite long, and then the second one is a little bit shorter and goes right to the 10. Okay? Now you can do them quicker or whatever it is that you'd like to, but the goal is the first one is certainly a whole step bend. And the second one is a half step bend. But I think what's almost more important than the whole step or the half step part of it is selling the two of them together, kind of like a singer. So even if they don't go quite high enough or whatever it might be, you're not really doing you're not really doing those kind of bends. You're trying to sell the musicality of those two together like a voice would when somebody was singing really soulfully. So it takes a little while to get used to, but it's certainly very, very effective. So, and then all I did was tag this. Again, you don't have to, but I tagged it at the end with a return to the 11 and then back to the 10 like this. But you wouldn't have to. You could, again, just go... Okay, and it would sound really, really cool. So again, please understand, it's not how fast can you get through these licks, it's how effective can you make them sound in your playing. So when people listen to you play, they're sold on there's no great word for this, but they're sold on the professionalism of how what you're playing, the authentic sound that you're giving them with the licks that you're playing. That's what's most important here. All right, and the last one I'm going to show you is quite easy to play, but again, you're trying to add some staccato elements into it to sell how it sounds, not just the fact that you're doing it. I want to show you how you can do this in a couple of different positions, too, to decide what you like better. So all I'm doing here is I'm playing a 5 on the first string, and then an 8, and then I'm going to do an 8 again, and then to a 5 again. So I have... And then I'm going to end it with that little blues bend on the 8th fret. So I have... Okay, now I can do the same thing on the 10 and the 13 of the second string. Now, why would I want to do it one position or the other? Well, it depends on where I'd like to start from, number one. Maybe what feels more comfortable or what looks more comfortable might be number two. But for me, to be honest with you, when I play it down here, because I'm on the first string, it doesn't give me a lot of control to do a vibrato. I can do a little bit of vibrato, right? But up here, I can do my normal vibrato towards the floor, and I like that more, it's just more comfortable. Okay. The other thing is that the string is a little bit easier to bend. So it's a little bit more comfortable for me to play up here. That doesn't mean I wouldn't do it down here. It just depends on what it is that I like. I like the feel of this second string a little bit more to be able to play that. Okay, so just think about that a little bit too. If you've never thought about playing a lick, but then repositioning that lick somewhere else for a purpose, for a reason that might be beneficial to you, please think about that. When I was younger and I would learn licks or I would learn different things, I would always learn them, obviously, in the position that I'm reading the tab or whatever. And it took me a long time to get to the place where I could start rethinking it and going, well, maybe it would be more comfortable or I'd memorize it better or something if I moved it from that position somewhere else. And that's what I started doing. And it's just made everything a lot easier for me to play. So anyway, so there's some intro style blues licks for you that I hope you can use in your playing, even if you only use a couple of them. But if it gives you something new to start exploring, that's what's most important. So obviously take care, stay positive, and keep practicing, right?